You know how we use certain words and phrases every single day without even thinking about them? Well, what if some of those words, everything from birth certificates to what happens in a courtroom, are actually part of a secret language? Today, we're exploring a pretty wild theory that says our modern world is secretly run by the ancient rules of the sea. Maritime law. Let's dive right in.
It all kicks off with a piece of trivia you've probably heard, right? In naval tradition, why is every single ship called a she? Well, according to the theory we're digging into, it's not just some old tradition. It's actually the key that supposedly unlocks this entire hidden legal framework that governs, well, pretty much everything on our lives. So here's the absolute core of this whole idea. Money is water, by law. I mean, think about it for a second. We talk about cash flow, liquid assets, or trying to stay afloat financially. Proponents of this theory say those aren't just clever metaphors. Oh no. They claim it's a literal legal definition under something called Maritime Admiralty law, the law of water. This one idea is the bedrock for everything else we're about to get into. All right, so let's jump into the first major piece of this puzzle. This is where the theory makes its most surprising connection. It links the cold commercial world of shipping directly to the very personal experience of being born. The whole argument starts by kind of redefining words we thought we knew. A ship, right? It's a vessel. It carries cargo, a product, and delivers it. The theory then makes this huge leap, arguing that a mother is also a vessel, and the baby is the product she delivers. I know, it's a really commercial way to look at it, but it's absolutely central to this entire framework. And this is where they point and say, see, look at the words. Get this, a ship is secured in its berth. A mother gives birth. The cargo on a ship is listed on a certificate of manifest. A baby is recorded on a birth certificate. It even goes down to where it all happens. The ship pulls up to the dock, and the certificate is signed by the dock. Coincidence? According to this theory, absolutely not. And here's how they tie it all back to that law of water. Your mother's water broke, right? And you came out of that water. So, from the perspective of maritime law, that makes you a product delivered from the water. And just like any other piece of cargo, your arrival into the world of commerce has to be documented with a manifest, which is your birth certificate.
Okay, so if being born is like a commercial delivery, then what does that make us? Well, the theory doesn't stop there. It gets even stranger, reframing our whole lives in commercial terms, and it introduces this really wild idea of the human corporation.
So the logic here, it all comes down to one Latin word, corpus, which just means body. The theory goes that while you're a living, breathing corpus, the law actually sees you as a corporation, like a business entity. But the second you die, that same corpus becomes a corpse. It's like you go from being a commercial asset to just an object. And proponents of this theory claim we're actually using this secret legal language every day, and we don't even realize it. Think about when you say a personal matter is none of your business. They'd argue you're using a technically correct legal term. Even saying a family comes from good stock, well, they see that as a direct reference to commerce and investments. Okay, so we've talked about words and language, but this is where it supposedly gets really real, with actual, tangible consequences inside a courtroom. This is where the law of the land is said to literally meet the law of water. So according to this view, when you walk into a courtroom, you're not just in one legal space. Nope, you're actually in two. While you're sitting in the public gallery, you're on the law of the land, and the judge supposedly has no power over you. But the moment you walk through that little wooden gate, you've just crossed an invisible border into a whole new jurisdiction, the law of the water. So let's walk through what happens, step by step. Your name gets called out. At this point, you're still safe on land. But then you choose to stand up and walk through what this theory calls the floodgate, that little partition. You've just entered the main court. And now you are about to pass the bar. And the second you do that, the legal implication is supposed to be instant. You are quite literally in hot water. You've left the safety of land law behind, and now you're adrift in a maritime jurisdiction where there's only one captain of the ship, the judge. And of course, if you're in hot water, well, what might you need? You might need to be bailed out. The theory claims this isn't a metaphor at all. The word bail comes from bailing water out of a sinking boat. In this courtroom scenario, you are the sinking boat, and the bail money is what keeps you afloat until your trial. All right, this leads us to the final and maybe the most crucial part of this whole thing. We're going to focus on what this theory says is the absolute point of no return in this legal journey, the act of crossing the bar. I mean, just think about that phrase, passing the bar. Who gets to do that? Attorneys, right? They're members of the Bar Association. So the really critical question this theory poses is this: what happens legally when you, a regular person with no license, are told to pass that physical bar in the courtroom? Well, the answer, according to this theory, is pretty dramatic. By passing the bar without a license, you have symbolically gone into deep water and legally drowned. You've entered a jurisdiction you are not qualified to navigate. And in the eyes of this maritime law, you are now considered lost at sea. And here it is, the absolute kicker. At the exact moment you cross that bar, you are legally reclassified. You're not considered a living person with rights anymore. For all legal intents and purposes inside that courtroom, you are a dead man. And this, they argue, explains everything about how a courtroom works. Why can't you speak directly to the judge? Well, because dead men can't talk. Why do you need an attorney to speak for you? Because they are licensed to represent the legally dead. Your lawyer literally becomes your mouthpiece. Whew. Okay, that was a deep dive into a really out there way of looking at our world. It's a lot to process. So, what's the big takeaway from all of this? The bottom line of this entire theory is that the language we use isn't just random. It argues that a hidden system pulled from the ancient law of the sea is the foundation of our entire legal and commercial world. From the moment you are born to the day you might stand in court, you are navigating by the law of water, whether you know it or not. And that just leaves us with one final, kind of mind-bending question to think about. Whether you think this theory is brilliant or just plain bonkers, it does make you listen a little closer to the words we all use. Because if there's even a chance it's right, and that our words can bind us to ancient laws we don't understand, what else are we agreeing to every single day without ever realizing it?